Hello, my name is Darren McClintock and I'm the Chaplaincy team leader here at HDFT. And I've just got a bit of an Easter message for you today. Many years ago, I received a phone call from a national newspaper on Good Friday, and they were doing a survey of Church of England clergy to find out just how well they knew the Easter story. And they said, would I mind answering a few questions? As it turned out, I found out later that it was a random sample of less than 40 members of clergy. I think there were about 10,000 members of clergy in the Church of England. So I got this call and I thought, okay, fine, I'll answer these questions. I was quietly confident. I'm sure this will be absolutely fine. And sure enough, the first couple of questions were fairly straightforward, fairly basic ones that you should know really as a Christian. Things like who was released to the crowd instead of Jesus, and I knew that was Barabbas. And there were a few like that were fairly straightforward. Then it got a bit more tricky. They began to be very specific questions and very specific to particular Gospels. Actually, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, and they were very specific to each of these Gospels. So for example, they said, who were the women at the tomb, on that first Easter day, on the resurrection day? Who were the women at the tomb according to Mark's Gospel? And then the next question was, who are the women at the tomb according to Luke's Gospel? And you're thinking, oh no, which is which, and who is which one? It's a slightly different account. And I checked later, and Salome appears in one, Joanna appears in another. And so I felt, oh gosh, I felt a bit awkward. There was another question about, in John's Gospel, there's this miraculous catch of fish after the resurrection. And the question was, how many fish were, and I remember, oh gosh, they did record a very specific number and I couldn't quite remember. And I looked up later and it was 153. And I thought, well, I couldn't remember that. And I remember thinking, oh heck, after that, there was a bit of me that felt a bit torn. On one side, I felt, gosh, I know this inside out. I really should. I should know this absolutely. There's another part of me that's thinking, I think they're trying to catch clergy out to write their article. And sure enough, there was an article on the. So this was Good Friday. The article came out on Easter Day and sort of kind of named and shamed a few people who gave silly answers. So I was quite relieved I didn't give a silly answer. So, for example, somebody was asked who was released to the crowd instead of Jesus, and one vicar responded, oh, I know this one. It was in Monty Python's The Life of Brian. I hope he was joking. I hope he was being a bit tongue-in-cheek, but you never know. But there was another question and another response that I read in the article, and I thought, I wish I'd thought of that. Somebody was asked how many fish were there in this miraculous catch of fish, and this particular vicar responded by saying, who cares? The point is that someone who was dead a few days ago was now alive again and having breakfast with his friends. Let's get this in some kind of perspective. And I thought, well, I like that actually. I wish I'd thought of that as a response. And it got me thinking, we can, in life in general, we can lose perspective. We can miss the big picture. We can miss the important things. Life can be busy. We can be distracted with all sorts of details and all sorts of things, and we can miss the key stuff. And I guess that's whether you're a person of faith or not. We can perhaps reflect on that. Perhaps this time of year, can we all manage to take a moment to stop and to reflect and to see what's the important stuff that we mustn't miss in life in the midst of all that goes on. And the key stuff for Christians is for Christians this Easter. Easter is the pivotal time really, the really major festival for Christians, a really pivotal thing. That sense that Jesus has died, and so through him sins are forgiven, and then he's raised to new life, and there's that new life and new hope that's on offer to all. And that's really the key of things, and it's just a really important thing to remember. I just want to mention I thought of another little story that I remember really spoke to me, I think relates to this too. And that was her story, a sort of little tongue-in-cheek story about a man who was out for a walk with his dog, and he's walking around a lake, and he bends down, picks up a stick, and he throws it into the middle of the lake, and his dog runs across the surface of the lake, not sinking in it, runs across the surface of the lake, reaches down, gets the stick, and runs back again across the surface of the lake. And the man goes, what was that? Am I seeing things? Did that really happen? So he does it again, and sure enough, the dog does the same thing, runs across the surface of the lake, gets the stick, and runs back across the surface of the lake. And he thinks, I've got to show somebody this, I've got to tell somebody this, I don't quite believe this. So he saw another dog walker, and he said, here, watch this, have a look at this. And he threw the stick again, and yet again, dog ran across the surface, didn't sink, got the stick and ran back again across the surface of the water. And said, well, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? And the other man said, the other dog walker said, it's a real shame, isn't it? It looks like your dog can't swim. And I think it's a silly sort of story, but actually, again, there's something about missing the point. And you know, I refer again to my earlier thing about getting things in perspective about the Easter story, about perhaps all of us in our lives as well. Can we get things in perspective? Can we see the key thing, the really important stuff that helps us to move forward? So whatever this time of year means for you, whatever Easter weekend means to you, I wish you all a very happy Easter. Thank you very much for listening.